The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and purple hues. Jack had been walking for hours, lost in an unknown land. His backpack was light, but it weighed heavily on his tired shoulders. His feet ached from the long journey, and his body felt the strain of hunger. He didn't know how he had ended up here. The dense forest had been his only guide, and now it was nothing but endless trees, strange sounds, and unfamiliar terrain. He had been walking since dawn, hoping to find civilization, but there was nothing. No signs of life, no road, not even a trail, just thick trees and shadows. It felt as if the world had swallowed him whole. Jack had been in many dangerous places, but this felt different. This land was wild, untouched, and there was something mysterious about it. Suddenly he noticed something in the distance. Through the trees, Jack saw a stone wall towering above the forest, and beyond it, the silhouette of a village. His heart leapt with hope. A village. Maybe they can help me, Jack thought. He had no idea where he was, but if there were people here, he could finally find food and maybe some direction. With renewed energy, he hurried toward the village, pushing through the trees. As he got closer, he saw that the village wasn't like any he had seen before. The buildings were made of stone, and the air was filled with the sound of metal clashing. The village was surrounded by high walls and guarded by people who looked like warriors. They wore simple armor, made from leather and iron, and moved with a confidence Jack had never seen in ordinary people. The gates were open, but as Jack approached, a sudden feeling of unease washed over him. Something was wrong. The warriors guarding the entrance eyed him warily. Jack tried to speak, but before he could even open his mouth, they raised their spears. A dozen warriors appeared from the shadows, all of them armed and ready for a fight. They didn't speak. Their eyes were cold, their movements swift. Jack knew what was coming. They had seen him, and they were not about to let him in without a test. Without warning, the warriors threw their spears at him, aiming for his chest and head. Jack's instincts kicked in. Move. Now. With speed that even surprised him, he jumped to the side. The spears whooshed past him, missing by inches. His heart raced, but his body was already in motion again. He dodged another spear, his legs springing him backward as if he were weightless. A third spear came at him from the left, and with a quick twist of his body, he ducked under it, feeling the air rush above his head. Jack didn't stop to breathe. He was already moving, rolling to the ground to avoid yet another spear, then back on his feet in a single smooth motion. The warriors paused, watching in stunned silence. Jack didn't slow down. His movements were fast, fluid, like a dancer weaving through an endless storm of sharp steel. His breath was steady, his mind clear. The spears flew at him one after another, but he dodged each with grace, not wasting an ounce of energy. He wasn't just running from them, he was using them, moving with the rhythm of their attacks. The warriors stood still, unable to keep up with his speed and precision. For what seemed like an eternity, Jack moved through the barrage of spears, each one narrowly missing him by inches. The warriors, who had practiced for years in the arts of combat, couldn't believe what they were seeing. This man, this outsider, was faster than any of them. His movements were perfect. His eyes locked onto each spear as it came, and with a single twist of his body, he avoided it. Finally, after the last spear had been thrown, Jack came to a stop. The village went silent. The warriors lowered their spears, clearly impressed but still cautious. The air was thick with tension. Jack stood in the middle of the village square, breathing hard but smiling. He looked at the warriors, who were still watching him. There was a respect in their eyes now, mixed with confusion. They had never seen anyone move like that. Jack, still smiling, wiped the sweat from his brow and shrugged his shoulders. "My turn," he said, his voice calm yet full of confidence. The warriors exchanged glances. They didn't know what to make of this man. He wasn't just an ordinary traveler. There was something in his eyes, something that told them he wasn't afraid of them. He wasn't afraid of anything. One of the older warriors stepped forward, his face calm but stern. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice deep and commanding. Jack didn't immediately respond. He was still catching his breath, but his mind was racing. He knew they would want answers. He had no idea what kind of place this was, but he had a feeling they would not take kindly to strangers. They had attacked him after all, and yet they had not killed him. I'm just a traveler," Jack said. "I got lost. I was looking for a way out of the forest." The older warrior looked Jack up and down, his eyes narrowing as if weighing Jack's words. Then, without saying another word, he turned and signaled to the others. The warriors slowly lowered their spears, but they kept their eyes on Jack, watching every move he made. "Follow me," the older warrior said, motioning for Jack to come closer. Jack hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. As he moved through the village, he couldn't help but notice the way everyone watched him. The villagers were all warriors, each one skilled in combat, and they moved with the kind of quiet confidence that only comes from years of training. Jack followed the older warrior through the village, past the stone houses and training grounds where more warriors practiced. He had no idea where they were taking him, but he knew one thing for sure. The village was unlike any place he had ever seen. There was a power here, a deep strength that seemed to pulse through the very air. Finally, they reached a large building at the center of the village. The older warrior opened the door and motioned for Jack to enter. Inside, the room was dimly lit, and there was an old man sitting at a wooden table, his face lined with age and wisdom. His eyes were sharp, though, and his presence was powerful. "You are the one they call outsider," the old man said in a voice that was both gentle and commanding. "Tell me, what brings you to our village?" Jack wasn't sure how to respond. He wasn't here to fight. He wasn't even sure why he had come. But he knew one thing: he couldn't go back. The wilderness had already tested him, and he had passed. Now the village seemed to offer something more. Maybe it was a place to learn. Maybe it was a place to grow. "I'm lost," Jack said simply. "And I'm looking for a purpose." The old man nodded, his gaze never leaving Jack's eyes. "Purpose is something that must be found, and it is not always found in the places you expect." With that, the old man stood and motioned for Jack to sit. "Rest, traveler. The village has many secrets. You may learn them, if you are ready." As Jack sat down, he realized that this was just the beginning. The village was not just a place of warriors. It was a place of hidden strength, of untold stories, and perhaps a place where Jack's true potential could be unlocked. And so, as night fell over the village, Jack knew that his journey was only just beginning. He was no longer lost. He had found something far greater. A place where his strength would be tested, where he would face challenges that would change him forever. The next morning, the village seemed different to Jack. The air was thick with purpose. The warriors, once cautious and reserved, now greeted him with nods of acknowledgement. Jack had earned their respect, if only for his ability to dodge their spears. But there was more to this village than just fighting. There was something deeper, something ancient. And Jack knew that if he stayed, he would need to understand it. The old man who had spoken to him the night before, Master Koro, approached Jack as the sun rose high above the village. His steps were slow but firm, as if each one carried the weight of the ages. Jack, still unfamiliar with the ways of this place, stood up from where he had been sitting, stretching his muscles after a long night of rest. "Are you ready, young traveler?" Master Koro's voice was like the wind, calm yet strong. Jack nodded, unsure what to expect. He had been tested already, dodging a dozen spears. What else could they possibly want from him? "You may be skilled in evading attacks," Master Koro said, his gaze penetrating. "But our village does not value mere skill. We value wisdom, patience, and strength of spirit. To learn what it means to be a true warrior, you must face the test of the heart." Jack raised an eyebrow. "The test of the heart?" "Indeed," Master Koro replied, his eyes never leaving Jack's. "This is not a battle of strength. It is a battle of will, of understanding. It will not be easy. It will not be fast. And it will test you in ways you cannot imagine." Without waiting for Jack's response, Master Koro turned and gestured for him to follow. Jack had no choice but to obey. He had come to this village searching for something. Answers, perhaps. Or purpose. And it seemed the village itself had decided what that something would be. They walked to the edge of the village, where the landscape opened up into a vast valley surrounded by tall, jagged mountains. The air here was thinner, and Jack could feel the weight of it pressing against his chest. The valley was quiet, peaceful even, with only the distant sound of a river flowing. "You see these mountains?" Master Koro asked, stopping to look at the towering peaks in the distance. "These are not just rocks, they are the soul of this land. The spirits of ancient warriors rest within them. Only those who truly understand what it means to fight, what it means to be a warrior, can call upon that power." Jack looked at the mountains. He didn't fully understand, but something about the way Master Koro spoke made him believe every word. "You will climb these mountains," the old man said, pointing to the highest peak in the distance. "At the top you will find the Heartstone. It is said to hold the power of the ancient warriors, a power that has been passed down for generations. It is a symbol of true strength, but it is not something you can take by force. You must earn it. And to earn it, you must conquer your own doubts, fears, and weaknesses. Jack's heart beat faster. Climbing the mountain seemed impossible. The sheer height, the rugged terrain. It was not something an ordinary person could achieve. And yet, there was something inside him telling him to try. Something telling him that he had to take this challenge. Master Koro smiled, as though he knew exactly what Jack was thinking. Go now, the journey will not be easy, but you must take it alone. The warriors will not follow. Only you can climb. With that, Master Koro turned and walked away, leaving Jack standing in the quiet valley. Jack stood still for a moment, gathering his thoughts. He had no idea how he was going to do this. The mountains seemed so far away, so daunting, but he had no choice. This was the path to understanding, the path to his true purpose. The climb. Jack started his ascent at dawn the next day, the first light of morning casting long shadows over the valley. The air was cold and his breath came out in visible puffs. He had no guide, no map, just the mountains towering before him. The ground was rough and the rocks beneath his boots were uneven. With each step, he felt the weight of the climb pressing on him. The higher he went, the more difficult it became. The first few hours were the easiest as the terrain was manageable. But soon the climb grew steeper. The rocks became sharper and the air thinner. Jack's legs ached and his arms burned as he pulled himself up the mountain face. He had always been strong, but this challenge was different. It was more than just physical endurance, it was a test of his resolve. As the hours passed, Jack began to feel the effects of the climb. His stomach growled with hunger and his body was tired. His mind, too, began to wander. What am I doing here? Why did I come? Doubts began to creep into his thoughts. Maybe I'm not strong enough for this. Maybe I'm not meant to be a warrior. He stopped for a moment to rest, sitting on a large rock. The view from where he sat was breathtaking. The valley stretched below him, the village a small speck in the distance. But it was also lonely. Jack felt the isolation deeply now. What if I fail? What if I never make it to the top? Just as he was about to give in to his fears, Jack remembered something Master Koro had said. This is a battle of the heart. The test wasn't about how strong his body was. It was about how strong his spirit was. It wasn't about reaching the top. It was about conquering the doubts that held him back. Taking a deep breath, Jack stood up. He had to keep going. He couldn't let fear stop him now. The Heartstone hours passed. The sun began to set as Jack neared the peak. His body was exhausted, his muscles trembling with fatigue. His hands were scraped and bruised, and his legs felt as though they might give way beneath him. But still he climbed. He had come too far to stop now. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jack reached the summit. It was a small, flat space at the very top of the mountain. And there, in the center, stood a stone pedestal. Atop it was the Heartstone, glowing faintly with a soft, golden light. It was beautiful, unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Jack approached it slowly, as if the stone itself were alive. He reached out, and as his fingers brushed against the stone, he felt a surge of energy course through his body. It was as if all the strength of the ancient warriors flowed into him, awakening something deep inside. His doubts, his fears, all of them melted away in that moment. He had passed the test, not just of strength but of spirit. The Heartstone was not a prize to be taken. It was a gift given to those who had the courage to face themselves, to face their weaknesses and overcome them. With the Heartstone in hand, Jack turned and began his descent. This time he didn't feel alone. The path back was easier now. He had proven something to himself. And as he made his way back to the village, he knew that he had truly become a warrior, one who understood that true strength came not from the body, but from the heart.